What is up, Primes? Nathonis here, back with another video for you. 2 per weekend now. I don't want to do that, but I'm stuck doing it, I guess. So, Transformers, War for Cybertron, Siege. I have heard so much hype about this, and I'll be honest with you, the idea didn't really stick to me. I don't know, I was kind of on the edge, because I had the thought that it was going to be like the Prime Wars trilogy. We all know how that turned out. Oh, God. Anyway, I thought it was going to end up exactly the same. But to my surprise, it turned out better. Now, yes, it has gotten some hate, which makes sense. Everything Transformers related is getting hate nowadays. I'll talk about hate in a minute, but like, I'm not so sure it's warranted. There is the argument that it's definitely much better than the Prime Wars. Some would even argue better than the movies, so, you know, I mean, personally, I liked it, so, now, hate, I just want to get on this topic a little bit. I don't understand it. If somebody just doesn't like something, then they literally have to spread hate about it, and I don't get it. So, I'm not going to pay any attention to hate, even though that's all I see is hate, 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 hate. Show some love for once. Anyway, you want to see love? I love this show. Alright, now, I don't have Netflix, so I just had to use my grandmother's Netflix. And that meant that I had to watch it on her TV. Like, her Netflix is literally on her TV. And because of that, the audio was super loud. Like, the volume was practically down, but at certain action scenes, it was extremely loud. But when they were talking, I couldn't hear very much. But that's an issue that people have on their own. People say that the voice acting is not so good. Now, I'm kind of split on the voice acting because, well, personally, I liked most of it. I loved Megatron's voice in this show. You know, the voice actor of him, give him props. Like, he did a terrific job. He was an awesome Megatron. But he shared the same problem as many other characters, and I'll get to that in a minute. But Optimus, let's just say I've grown used to Jake Fauci doing the voice of Optimus now, but it's not the same as Peter Cullen, and you might think, oh, well, that's not such a big deal. It is. Peter Cullen actually spoke out in March about how he felt about this. yeah, he wasn't happy about that. And it's understandable, because Optimus Prime is not just a character he voiced. Optimus Prime is part of his personality. It's part of who he is. Optimus Prime, Peter Cullen based Optimus off of his brother who served in the Navy, I believe it was. And, you know, to have somebody else playing that character, it just doesn't feel right. So, I get what he means. But the problem that Megatron shares with many other characters, which I mentioned a few moments ago, is they talk slow. Now, I didn't notice it when I first watched it, but when I saw all the reviews and stuff like that, even Gary Chalk, who is the voice of Optimus Primal in the Beast Wars trilogy, I don't really care about Beast Wars, but I respect Gary, he said that they talk so slowly, they're trying to be tough, and I see it now. Like, it gets kind of awkward at points. Like, at one point, Impactor meant to say, "It's alright, Doc," meant what I said, you know, but the way he said it, it sounded like, "It's alright, Doc," meant what I said. What? I know you're trying to speak informal, but when you speak informal in a very formal voice, it doesn't work. So if that's the kind of thing you do, it doesn't work. But yeah, most of the voice acting was alright, but there were some voices that just blended in. Mostly for the Decepticons. For the most part, they all sounded the same. Shockwave sounded weird. He sounded... Not gonna lie, he did sound like movie Starscream, but, you know. Shockwave can go through many different voices, I suppose. But Soundwave, this one caught me off guard. They put way too much computerization into his voice. I couldn't understand anything he was saying. So, you know, Rooster Teeth, if that was your thing, if that was you, I don't think it was, but whoever, you know, whoever's fault it was that overdid Soundwave's voice, you need to tone it back. Like, I couldn't understand him. Now, getting on to some more characterization. Ultra Magnus. I want to touch on him for a second because he had such a strange arc. Because literally all he really did was serve as the military commander for a bit, and then when Optimus wouldn't sign Megatron's peace treaty, Ultra Magnus went to go to Megatron to see if, you know, they could work out some kind of agreement. But Megatron, you know, it's Megatron. He had better ideas, so instead he captures Ultra Magnus, who then pretty much, you know, eavesdrops on the Decepticons, transmits what they're saying to the Autobots, and then when the Decepticons find out about it, they're obviously pissed. Megatron forces Ultra Magnus to essentially find the crypt of Alpha Trion, that's it. However, when finding out that he was led to a dead end, Megatron outright kills Ultra Magnus. Like, hardly even a whisper. And just... Like, are you kidding me? That was such a shocking death. And then what they do afterwards is they use his body to send out a virus to try and wipe out the Alpha Trion protocol. Which, it's weird because when Ultra Magnus died, that protocol went out and got stuck in Bumblebee's mind. And now the Decepticons are trying to wipe it out. They know very little about it, and yet Shockwave just randomly has the virus for it. Okay, Shockwave, you know, leader of convenience and logic. So, you know, Ultra Magnus, bit wasted. Would have loved to see him in Earthrise, but, you know, they do what they do. There were some other wasted characters, mostly Moonracer. Now, some of you may not remember her, but, like, when they first said Moonracer, I'm like, don't you mean Chromia? Because I'm pretty sure that's Chromia. And then boom, Moonracer appears out of nowhere. I don't know. But, yeah, like, the only reason they brought her in is so that they could kill her. And why? You know, if you're gonna bring in a character just to waste them, that's already a waste. So, try it a little bit better, please. It was a bit sudden, though, when I first saw it, because it was like, why? That's also pretty vile. They literally just tore an Autobot apart. This show is pretty brutal. I'll give it its 20 cents there. In fact, the first ever death in the show is a Seeker getting his head blown off. Yeah, it's that brutal. And we're barely, you know, that far into the show. Starscream gets his arm cut off by Jetfire, who at this point is a Decepticon, but he doesn't fully believe in the Decepticon way, or at least not the way Megatron has twisted it. So, you know, he's kind of on the fence. So, you know, him and Starscream are also fighting each other over command of the Seekers. That's not going to end well. But then after Ultra Magnus's death, Jetfire just turned on the Decepticons. Yay. And apparently he killed Skywarp. Skywarp and Ultra Magnus are dead just like that. People die in this show. It ain't robots in disguise, I'll tell you that much. Bumblebee, I liked his story. Because he starts out as like a scavenger, you know, he's not aligned with any side. And he's not your regular kid appeal, sort of happy-go-lucky kind of character. This time he is a bit rough and gritty, and he looks like he's seen some shit. And I love the way Wheeljack describes him. He's a pain in the ass. And yeah, he kind of is. But that also shows this show actually isn't afraid to say very minor swear words, which I'm glad to see, because, like, we need more adult-oriented Transformers stuff, because it's all been kid stuff in the past. You know, for the last few years, that's all it's been, is just kids' cartoons. I mean, Cyberverse is alright, but, you know, rescue bots, robots in disguise, you know. Yeah, we need something a little bit more for the older teenager, younger adult type demographic, and this show definitely strives for that. But there are characters who show up out of nowhere, like Ironhide. He shows up out of nowhere. Sounds a lot younger than normal. I'm pretty sure Mirage showed up out of nowhere. Because initially, your main characters were Optimus, Ultra Magnus, Elita 1, Wheeljack, Sideswipe, who kind of came in out of nowhere, but not really. Red Alert, Hound, and Cog. Pretty sure that's it. Pretty good for straight off of memory. But yeah, that's it. And then all of a sudden, you have characters showing up out of nowhere. Like Ironhide and Mirage. Can't remember if there was very many other characters. Chromia showed up out of nowhere. RC showed up out of nowhere. There was Sound Blaster. Now he's unaligned. Well, not unaligned. He runs his own faction, more or less. And he's kinda a Jabba the Hutt type of figure. Only a little bit more screws loose, if that makes any sense. So yeah, he's a bit crazy. He looks like Soundwave, he shares the body type, and Bumblebee even alludes to that. Like, we've had characters sharing body designs in Transformers many, many times, to the point of no return. And Bumblebee actually finally points it out. He looks like Soundwave, but, you know, don't bring it up. He's a bit, you know, he doesn't like being compared to Soundwave. But he does have a pretty cool voice. Impactor. Now this is a character with, without a doubt, the best story arc in the entire series. But let's go back a bit. Originally, he's a Decepticon. You know, most Decepticons start out as miners or gladiators or, you know, but he was a miner. You know, finding ore but struggling in the process. And when he became a Decepticon, he was mostly loyal to that cause. Even though Megatron went all crazy and just started seeing things differently and more within his grasp, as it were, Impactor never questioned it. However, after an attack went wrong, you know, the Decepticons tried to ambush the Autobots, that is, Impactor got severely damaged, missing an arm, and he even got impaled, until he was found by Ratchet. Yes, Ratchet is in the show. Why is he not the medic? He doesn't work with the Autobots. He's kinda freelance. Which is new. I've never seen that before. So, good to see Ratchet taking a new stance here. So yeah, he finds Impactor, you know, puts him together, and then later on when they're building the space bridge, or rebuilding it, him and Impactor are working on it together. Impactor is essentially helping the Autobots now. Obviously, he's at a bit of a rivalry with Mirage, which is fine, you know. Makes that 2-pack more logical, I suppose. But yeah, Impactor is trying to help. And then later, towards the final battle, when Ratchet needs to open the space bridge, there's this wide gap. There's Seekers out there. He has to run all the way to the other side in order to turn it on. Well, Starscream comes in. One shot would have taken him out, but instead, Impactor jumps in the way and takes the bullet, ending his character. Holy crap, that was characterization, character development, whatever. Damn. Like, I am shocked that they did that with his character. And they did it pretty well, because it shows an emotional attachment with Ratchet, because, you know, he's mostly the grump of the group. But this time it shows that he actually cared about somebody. And Impactor, sacrificing his life for the Autobots, despite once having been a Decepticon, you know, that's awesome to see. Now, your two main characters, Optimus Prime and Megatron. There's gonna be some fun with that, isn't there? Megatron is very convincing, I would say. He's one of those villains who, like, he tries to seem good, you know, like, join us and nothing bad will happen, you know? He's that mental villain, as I like to call it, a mental villain. He tries to get in your head, which is the best kind of villain. However, when it comes down to it, he's not afraid to bust some sparks. Like, literally, he will reach into your chest and rip out your spark. That's the kind of Megatron that this is. But Optimus. A lot of people don't like Optimus in this show because he's a bit of a dumbass. And I can see that. It works, but not for Optimus Prime. What it should work for is Optimus. Because Orion Pax is naive, young, he's, you know, like, a bit brash, but nothing too major. And then he became Optimus, which is, you know, before he became a Prime, this was after he was rebuilt, he became Optimus, and, you know, I could imagine him being a bit more like the Siege Optimus. But then, you know, he gets the Matrix and he becomes Optimus Prime, and Optimus Prime is always your wise, benevolent leader. Michael Bay, you turn him into a killer, but that's alright. You know, we need a bit of a differentiation. At least you got Peter Cullen in to voice him, so I'm happy about that. Yeah, take that as you will. It is what it is. I like the character, but at this point in time, it doesn't fit, unfortunately. Because if he's Optimus Prime, he has the Matrix of Leadership. If you have the Matrix of Leadership, you obviously have the wisdom of the Primes. So you should be pretty wise, not so much of a dumbass to the point where even your girlfriend starts questioning you. Yeah, Alita 1 and Optimus have a thing going on. You can tell, you know, they're sort of, you know, I don't know how to put it, but like they're flirting with each other, but they're not. You know, I do like the chemistry that they put in there. You know, not something you see in most Transformers series. You know, we need more chemistry. So, I liked it. That was clever. Alita 1 mostly questions Optimus's authority. She stays behind after all the Autobots leave, so that they can be rid of the Decepticons, more or less. Omega Supreme kinda shows up. Apparently he's a guardian of Cybertron with, like, 2 other Omega Supremes, or many others. He says, we're not fighting in this battle. We're not choosing a side. And then in the final battle, they show up. And they help the Autobots. Even Megatron is perplexed, like, so the Guardians have chosen a side. Apparently they have. Yeah, that's mostly it for characterization, and in the process, I kind of also went over the story a bit. You know, the Autobots are down on their luck, they don't have any energon, they're just kind of dwindling, hanging on for dear life while they discover about the Allspark. They just need to get it off of Cybertron and then go after it so that they can bring it back to Cybertron. The Decepticons are just after them. Now, the final pre-credit scene, all the Autobots that are left on Cybertron think that the Ark was destroyed when the space bridge blew up, but the final scene shows Teletran 1 saying, "Alert, incoming vessel." They're floating in space, the whole ship is out of power. Alert, incoming... Like, what? Who could it be? It's obviously the Nemesis. I can't wait to see how that plays out. Obviously, they're going to end up going to Earth for Earthrise, which is essentially Chapter 2. And I can't wait to see that. But yeah. All in all, I give Siege 8 out of 10. Which is like 3.5 out of 5. No, it's 4 out of 5. Yeah, it's 4 out of 5. So yeah. Tell me what you guys think, if you saw it, that is. If you didn't like it, I understand. There are plenty of issues that people have with it. But if you did like it, cool. It is one of the most divisive series I've seen. But I liked it. Soundtrack was great too. You know. Again, voice acting was pretty good. Not as bad as a lot of people say. So yeah. They did a great job. The only thing I would really change is the voice actors. That's it, you know. Get Peter Cullen to voice Optimus. If you want, get Frank Welker to voice Megatron. You know, nobody gets hurt, essentially. Because you heard the clip. You know, Peter Cullen was hurt that he didn't get to voice Optimus. And that makes sense. So, let him do it again. Let him voice the character for the time he's got left. Because we all know he's 79 now. So, Here's hoping that he gets to voice Optimus for the rest of the time. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the show as well, and see you all in the next video.